I have been saved by grace one way or another, time and time again. I'm grateful, and I take joy in the entire journey. Some of my most precious memories, though, have been all the Christmas Eves spent in the company of a gathered community of faith. Families filled with the joy of reunions for the holidays, young children with their sparkling eyes, and all the brave and broken-hearted ones gathered to receive and celebrate the gift of hope given in candlelight. But there's another reason Christmas Eves are so precious to me. And that's because as a deacon, I've always spent Christmas Eves with clergy colleagues, many of who have helped shape my ministry and who have shaped me through deep friendships that remain. In 1986, I arrived in this annual conference through the invitation of Wesley Church in Fresno and Pastor Don Faden. And there, Jan Everhart and her spouse Jan and I spent 9 Christmas Eves together. We shared meals in between services, and I was so grateful for the precious gift of beloved company over those nights. At New Community Church in Oakhurst, Pastor Jim Luther, in his own way, reminded me time and time again, Diana, are you still in touch with the joy of ministry? He didn't ask it in those exact words, but that's what he meant. And at Linwood Church in Pleasanton, I spent Christmas Eve with Gary and Deb Grunman, and then Heather Hammer. These were such powerful evenings, made even more holy in the company of colleagues whom I cherish to this day. And there's one other joy-filled moment that I would like to lift up, and that is Martin Luther King weekend in 1999. And I know many of my colleagues will remember too, the power and passion and that unbridled spirit of celebration that took hold as we, the 68 of us, co-officiated Ellie Charlton and Jeannie Barnett's Holy Union in Sacramento.
In my career as a pastor, I found joy in all of it, in the being ordained to word, sacrament, and order. I loved preaching and teaching. There was great joy in that. Certainly in administering the sacraments, there was no greater joy than baptizing an adult. And I enjoyed even the ordering, the administration work. There was joy in that. But I would have to say that the greatest joy came in the relationships with people, obviously, and in hearing their stories and in being part of their stories and being with them in the high moments of their lives and in the low moments of their lives. That was probably the deepest joy.
Every joy in ministry is the greatest joy. However, there is a favorite memory for me that has been repeated hundreds of times. Well, actually over 1,300 times. I did the math. It's that moment of joy at the beginning of worship when the children acolytes begin to walk up the aisles to light the candles at the altar. For 25 years in 4 different churches, that moment has always made me smile from a deep wellspring of joy. No matter what was going on in the world, or what was difficult in the church, or what sorrows pierced my own life, that moment when the acolytes are ready to process, that is a joy that could boost me every time.
You know, I can't believe how fast the time has passed. I swear it was yesterday that I was sweating at the interviews with the Board of Ordained Ministry. And now here I am entering the entire relationship. Zip and zoom. Times like this, I guess, result in a stew of feelings and emotions. And I think that's true for me. But like any good stew, there's always that one distinctive flavor that emerges. And for me, the one that comes out is this deep sense of gratefulness. For all the people who took the time and patience to mentor me, I'm grateful. Reverend John Collins, Father Dan Berrigan, Reverend Linda Kimmelman, Reverend Bruce McSpadden, Reverend Mac Jones, Reverend Lucius Walker. Oh, it's a long list. I've been so blessed, and my heart rings with thanksgiving. For my seminary experience at Drew Theological School, where I received a world-class education, professors, classmates, all. I'm also grateful for the range of ministry it led me to at the Church Center for the United Nations, the General Board of Church and Society, Women's Division, the World Methodist Council. I was privileged to work and serve on these places in challenging times. And then the churches, oh my goodness. Demarest UMC, Wharton UMC in New Jersey, Chelsea UMC in New York, Washington Square in Manhattan, Trinity in Berkeley and the Wesley Foundation, Temple United Methodist Church, and then 7 years serving on the cabinet with Bishop Warner Brown and Bishop Minerva Carcano. What a wonderful opportunity to serve. And now, in retirement, sort of, I'm privileged to serve part-time at Petaluma United Methodist Church. 38 years in Methodist pulpits, and I'm still standing upright. Last but not least, I want to mention my family. I'm indebted to my incredible wife, Lisa Caressimo, Dr. Lisa Caressimo, who has been by my side through it all as partner and friend. And I want to lift up our children, Emma and Aaron, who were quintessential preacher's kids as they grew up in the folds of a loving community with many, many aunties and uncles. Could not have done it without my family and without community.
It has been a delight to serve as a pastor in this conference for 33 years. My greatest joy in ministry has been building churches by caring for people as I lead congregations in singing hymns. We sing our beliefs when we are given a chance. Hymn writing has allowed me to use theology, poetry, and music to build the church. To quote from the Hymn Society in the United States and Canada, I believe the holy act of singing together shapes faith, heals brokenness, transforms lives, and renews peace.
I think it's going to take the kind of creativity and ingenuity and skill set that's better suited to those going forward and to those candidates coming through the process who I have known through my work with PSR and the Board of Ordained Ministry. And I'm inspired, and I give thanks for all of these coming through the process and for the lay leadership that will continue to provide a path for our denomination.
I encourage all, those who are just entering or those who've been in it for many years, to stay in touch and connected to God, to find those practices on a daily and weekly and seasonal basis that keep you connected. Some of those practices that have been so important to me and that I encourage others to do are to spend time in nature. For me, that especially means walking in nature, and to have a spiritual director. I think it is of critical importance to have someone that you can truly, deeply connect with in talking about things of the Spirit.
Oh my, I have no advice to offer you. No advice for new pastors or anyone. You got this. But I do have an offer for you. If you need a little help, or you need a quiet listener, I'm here for you. And even if you don't ask me to help or to listen, you might just appreciate knowing that I'm praying every day for all of us. I am praying for renewal of the church and the world. I'm praying for you for the work you do, and I'm praying for my callings in retirement.
I would like to hear more a cappella singing at our big gatherings. Live acoustics encourage congregational singing. Carpet bedrooms, not churches. Encourage the congregational singing in your churches. Care for the people who come to your church. Care for the people outside the church. Be kind to everyone. Meet people where they are and let them know you care. Create beauty, care for people.
I remember when I first came to Wesley Church, Vic McLean, who was a retired lay pastor, was a part of that church. And he shared with me a little poem by Bonero Overstreet. And that was in 1986. And every year I transferred a little piece of paper into my new calendar year after year. And on that paper is a copy of this poem, and I'd like to share it. You say the little efforts that I make will do no good. They never will prevail to tip the hovering scale where justice hangs in the balance. I don't think I ever thought they would. But I am prejudiced beyond debate in favor of my right to choose which side shall feel the stubborn ounces of my weight. So friends, I'm going to keep looking for ways to assert the stubborn ounces of my weight for the sake of the gospel. And I'll continue to give thanks for all of your courage and your good heart, and for all of your ministry into the future. Bye.
We need to all, as an institution and as individuals, be listening deeply for God's Spirit. It may not be that God is calling us to do everything to preserve the institution in the way that we've wanted it, and we need to be listening deeply for that. God is in the midst of everything, and God is in the midst of it now, and that's something for us all to remember and to be listening to God's call, God's direction, to listen for the Spirit moving.
I have spent every year in ministry working with congregations on issues of change. Do we like to change our ways? No. Sometimes we have overcome great fears of change, and then we have done mighty acts of love in the name of Jesus. Guess what, church? We now know we must change even more. Let's go to the root of Christianity, to the radical ways of Jesus. Radical means to the roots. So let's take heart. Let's be courageous. Let's be willing. Let's be hopeful. Let's be so crazy in love with God and so excited about the radical meaning of Jesus that we can't help ourselves. We become a whole new living body of Christ.
We're in a moment when God needs the church to really be the church, friends. We're in a time when we need some mutual clarity about goodness, about compassion, about kindness and forgiveness. We're in a moment when we dare not close our hearts to God's yearning for justice. Whatever our role, whatever our journey, our task, let us live what Paul would call that life worthy of the gospel. And let us stand with the oppressed and the marginalized. Let our communities be beacons of justice and wholeness and inclusion. And I close with these words from St. Francis. Preach the gospel at all times, and when necessary, use words. Thank you all. God bless.
In retirement, I am responding to my sense of call to share my gifts beyond the local parish. I will continue to write and sing hymns for social justice. I care for people in this way. My latest hymn collection, Little Seeds, was just released by Hope Publishing Company. It contains hymns inspired by our struggles as a denomination and as people of faith. Invite me to come to your church when it is safe. In some cases, we can do safe outdoor music for the community. Pastor Lori Ban is working on a Dan Damon sing-along online resource that can be of use during this difficult time.
In the words of John Wesley, The best of all is God is with us.